Today, we're going to dive into an ancient story with a message that feels, well, more relevant than ever. This is the story of Ram and the incredible, almost unbelievable power that comes from simply doing what is right.
So, let me just start with a question that really gets to the heart of it all. What if the path of integrity, the path of honor, what if it demanded you give up everything you've ever wanted, everything you thought was yours by right?
That exact choice, that ultimate test of who you really are, well, that is the story of Ram.
So let's begin right there, at that first crucial moment. This is about a prince's choice between what he wanted and what he knew he had to do. This is where the legend really kicks off.
Okay, so picture this. Ram was born into a world of absolute promise. He's a prince, beloved by everyone, admired for his skill, his compassion, you name it. His path was crystal clear. The throne was waiting. His destiny seemed completely set in stone.
And then, just like that, it all flipped upside down. He's faced with this impossible choice. On one side, you've got desire, the crown, the kingdom, literally everything he was raised for. And on the other side, duty, a promise his father made years ago that would send him into exile. This is the core of Dharma, that principle of doing what's right. It was a choice between what was easy and what was right.
Ram, of course, chose duty. But here's the thing that's so telling. It was how he did it. He walked away from that throne with absolute grace. No anger, no second-guessing, no hesitation. This wasn't weakness, it was a profound show of inner strength.
And his choice just perfectly illustrates this timeless truth, doesn't it? I mean, it's easy for any of us to have integrity when things are going great. The real test, the real proof, is when doing the right thing costs you something big.
All right, so let's follow him into that next chapter, because his choice didn't lead to a punishment, really. It led to a trial. This is where we see his character being forged in the fires of exile.
Just imagine that for a second. In an instant, everything was stripped away. No palace to live in, no royal power to command, and absolutely zero certainty about what tomorrow would bring. He went from being the heir to the throne to a wanderer in the deep forest.
But here's the most important part. Even though he lost everything, his core self, that never changed. He spent his time protecting the wise sages living in the forest. He lived in total harmony with nature. He carried himself with the exact same dignity he had in the palace. His goodness wasn't tied to his circumstances. And this gives us just a powerful, simple definition of character. It's got nothing to do with your job title or your address. It's about how you act, the values you live by, no matter what life throws at you. But, the tests weren't over, not by a long shot. In fact, the greatest one was still on its way. This next part is all about finding strength in the kind of loss that can break a person. And then the unthinkable happened. His wife, Sita, the love of his life, was abducted. This wasn't just a political problem, this was a soul-crushing personal loss. The pain was just immense.
So how did he respond? What do you do with that kind of grief? Well, Ram's reaction is basically a masterclass in resilience. First, he didn't try to ignore the pain. He acknowledged it. Second, he let himself feel it completely, like any of us would. But, and this is so crucial, he didn't let that grief consume him. He channeled it. He let it focus his mind and give him a singular purpose.
And this teaches us something so important. Real emotional strength isn't about being so tough that nothing can hurt you. It's about having the courage to feel pain, to process it, and to rise through it, stronger and more determined than ever. Now, that newfound focus allowed him to do something truly remarkable. He began to lead, not with a crown on his head, but with something way more powerful, trust that he had earned. Just look at the allies who gathered around him. Hanuman, the most devoted and powerful warrior. Sugriva, a king in his own right. Even Vibhishana, the actual brother of his enemy. These powerful people didn't follow him because he was some prince. He had no kingdom, remember? They followed him because they saw his character. They believed in his cause, and they trusted him, period.
And that right there gives us a definition of leadership that goes way beyond titles or org charts. Real leadership isn't about the authority you have over people. It's about earning their trust so completely that they choose to stand right beside you.
So, with his allies at his side, the stage was finally set for the ultimate conflict. But you have to understand, this was never just a physical war.
It was a battle of ideas, a clash of values, a war both within and without.
This slide shows you the real conflict. On one side, you have Ram, who stands for righteousness, discipline, and upholding Dharma, that moral order of the universe. And on the other side, you have Ravana, who is the embodiment of pure ego, unchecked desire, and the lust for power at any cost. So the war wasn't just to rescue Sita, it was a war to defeat ego with integrity.
So after the war is won, and Ram finally returns to his kingdom, you'd think the story would end there. But in a lot of ways, his most important work was just getting started. This is where we learn that real leadership is, at its heart, about service.
I mean, really think about this for a second. After everything he'd been through, the exile, the loss, the brutal war, it would have been so easy for him to rule with an iron fist. But his greatest victory wasn't on the battlefield. It was in how he ruled, day after day, with fairness, with compassion, and with a deep sense of duty to his people.
So the ultimate point is this. True, lasting leadership is a constant commitment to service. It isn't propped up by trophies or past wins. It's sustained every single day by a core set of values you refuse to compromise on.
Which brings us to our final thought. Because Ram's life isn't meant to be just some old story that we admire from a distance. It's meant to be a mirror that we hold up to our own lives and our own choices.
Because look, we all face hardships. We all experience loss. We all face those crossroads moments. And in those critical times, the question Ram's story asks each of us is really simple, but incredibly profound. Are you going to choose the path that's easy or the one that's right?
Because in the end, our legacy isn't really defined by the crowns we might wear or the battles we happen to win. True greatness, it's found in the principles we uphold, the duties we honor, and the values we're willing to stand for, no matter what it costs.